In the world of modern shipping, bigger seems to be better. CNN's Jim Hill now takes a look at one huge vessel and the small crew that operates it.
When the Danish cargo ship Susan Mærsk docked in Long Beach, California, it was a big deal, literally. As long as 3.5 football fields, tall as a 12-story building, this is the biggest vessel of its kind in the world. It is also the wave of the future in global shipping.
When you're a global transportation company in all these worldwide markets, you really have to have a lot of volume to achieve profitability.
Volume and economy are what the Susan Mærsk is all about, with 6,600 standard 20-foot shipping containers above and below its huge deck. Yet the crew numbers only 13, and the ship's bridge is so advanced, piloting this giant takes only
two people. And we can actually do it with one man.
Once the mechanics tune the 75,000 horsepower diesel engine, it's run by just one man.
That's not difficult as long as the system is working. So it's rather easy because everything is automatic.
With boxes piled 16 high and 17 across, the ship is too wide to make it through the Panama Canal. Known as Panamax ships, there are now more than 90 on the high seas, and Maersk has 4 more on order.
The future of big ships is so big, the industry already envisions a vessel that can carry 15,000 20-foot containers. That would make it roughly twice the size of the Susan Mærsk.
It's not certain that such a vessel will ever be built, but ports like Long Beach are rushing to build bigger facilities to handle larger ships.
We have to have the room for them. We're having to build larger and larger terminals to accommodate all this.
Any world port that doesn't may be left in the wake. Jim Hill, CNN, Long Beach, California.
A ship so big, it won't fit in the Panama Canal. In focus this evening, a boat so big that its propeller is 30 feet high. NBC's Dan Lothian on the new age in the shipping business.
In the world of shipping, size does matter. Arriving at the port of Long Beach, California, the Danish-built Susan Mærsk, the largest container ship in the world. Longer than 3 football fields, its bridge 12 stories above the water, and with a width of 140 feet. It's too big to sail into the Panama Canal.
At sea, we are using our automatic pilots.
Ship's Captain Pierre Hermansen normally uses a crew of 20 and a battery of computers. There's an integrated system that uses 8,000 sensors placed all over the vessel to detect any leaks or unusual temperatures. The ship even has a black box, similar to those in airliners. 5 levels into the ship's hull is this, one of the largest marine diesels on Earth, the massive 75,000 horsepower engine. The Susan Mærsk is part of a new class of mega ships designed with economic reality in mind.
Profit margins have always been tough in this business, and that's why you really have to have economies of scale, because profit margins have eroded significantly. So you need to make it up in volume.
And volume is what this ship has. On this voyage, the Susan Mærsk is loaded with over 6,000 20-foot containers.
You can move a ship that has 6,000 containers compared to a ship for 4,000 containers for basically the same price, and these ships are full.
On this voyage, the containers are full with everything from computers to car parts to shoes and shirts. To handle these mammoth vessels, billions are being spent by port authorities in places like Long Beach. On the agenda, dredging to deepen channels, buying larger cranes, and building roomier cargo terminals.
We have to make sure that we have the facilities available because of the growth in trade. Our container volume in the Port of Long Beach has grown by 150% since 1990. So we're struggling to keep up with the growth in trade.
That booming maritime economy is expected to grow even larger as the new millennium approaches. Even as the fleet of unusually large container ships grows, companies are looking at using something called fast ships. They are smaller than usual vessels, only able to hold a few thousand containers, but able to make an ocean crossing twice as fast as their larger counterparts. Dan Lothian, NBC News, San Pedro, California.
Now, Northwest Morning News with May Coyle and Michael King.
Tacoma, Washington is preparing for a big arrival. A giant ship is docking in Tacoma this morning. It's the largest ship ever to call on ports in the U.S. The 12-story high vessel has already been to California. It's based out of Denmark and is nearly 4 football fields long.
First to broadcast in digital high-definition television. Como 4 News. First for local news.
A new era in shipping has arrived in the Puget Sound region.
It's the world's largest container ship. It's stopping here for the first time. Como's Keith Eldridge of our Tacoma News Center reports the trend toward bigger ships could save you money.
A welcoming rainbow for the Susan Mærsk, the largest container ship to ever call at a U.S. port. Port officials say the colorful arrival is symbolic of this new chapter in maritime history.
We're proud of the fact that we at the port are prepared and ready to accept and welcome ships the size of the Susan Mærsk.
She is 4 football fields long, 12 stories high.
We know at all the time where we are.
The captain is Per Hermansen of Denmark. He controls a ship that is wider than the Panama Canal by design. He says by only operating in the Pacific, they can save you money by putting more goods on these jumbo ships.
For the consumer, you have a steady flow of cargo, especially we are coming from the Far East.
Another of these new huge container ships is loading and unloading goods at the port of Seattle. We're told the economic vitality of both ports is boosted by these enormous vessels. The bigger ships are bringing more goods quicker to U.S. ports, but getting those goods quickly to you is the next big challenge. Container trains are slow going, and traffic comes to a stop. But $360 million in public and private money is about to be spent to put in over and underpasses from Seattle to Auburn to Tacoma. It's a move to ease the flow of imports to you and speed the flow of exports, boosting the local economy. From the Tacoma News Center, Keith Eldridge, Como 4 News.
The Maersk line is building 9 more of these jumbo container ships.
Number 1 in the morning. Coverage you can count on for all of Western Washington. This is King 5 Morning News.
The largest ship ever to call on a U.S. port pulls into Tacoma. It's a container ship from Denmark called the Susan Mærsk.
King 5's Deborah Feldman is live in Tacoma with a big look at a big ship. And Deborah, we were noticing just a moment ago when you first appeared, that ship obviously is full. Look how low it's sitting in the water.
Yes, this is a very large ship. If you take a look behind me, you can tell it looks pretty large, but just to give you a better perspective, it's 12 stories high, it is wider than the Panama Canal, and its length is about the distance of 4 football fields. Definitely large enough to make its mark at this port. This giant ship was only built 2 years ago. Up till this point, it's been used to haul goods between Europe and Asia. Now it's being put into service for North America to help ease some of the seasonal hauling crunch being experienced with goods from Asia. This container ship has a capacity of 700 refrigerated containers. That's among the largest of any vessel afloat. The imports from Asia include electrical appliances, footwear, computer parts, and sporting goods. Its exports from here include wood pulp, hay, meat, and apples. Port officials say it's taken years of preparation to get the port ready for ships this big.
We've had to expand the size of the cranes so that they can reach to the far side of the ship. We're doing improvements at the terminals and, again, ensuring that the depth of the waterway is what the ship needs.
Once it's all packed up, the ship is expected to leave the port sometime tomorrow afternoon. Its next stop will be Japan. Live at the port of Tacoma, Deborah Feldman, King 5 News.
With complete Northwest news coverage. This is Cairo 7 Eyewitness News at noon.
The biggest container ship ever to sail into a U.S. port is now docked in Tacoma. These pictures from Chopper 7 this morning give you some idea of just how large the Susan Mærsk really is. The ship is a quarter-mile long, 12 stories high, and its propeller is more than 30 feet tall. Fully loaded, 6,600 containers can fit on board.
This is Q13 Reports at 10.
It's the largest container ship to call on a U.S. port, and tonight the Susan Mærsk is docked at the port of Tacoma. The ship is nearly 400 yards long and 12 stories high, and it represents the future trend of container ship design and size. The ship hauling goods between the United States and Asia is expected to leave port tomorrow afternoon.